true Swat victory won't be military. Pakistan says it is close to beating the Taliban in the Swat Valley, but battlefield success alone does not equal victory. The Taliban are guerrilla fighters, and it is a guerrilla war. Militant commanders are still on the run. Local governments and police forces have been decimated. Millions and millions of residents have been displaced from their homes, with much destruction. And even if Pakistan succeeds in eliminating insurgents or militants in one of its most intense operations yet, the northwestern valley is just one of several militant strongholds in the U.S. allied country, and not even the most important. Already, fighting is flaring up again in the tribal areas bordering Afghanistan, where Al-Qaeda and the Taliban are much more entrenched than they were in Swat. The United States sees the SWAT operation as a test of nuclear-armed Pakistan's ability and willingness to tackle insurgents in the northwest, blamed for attacks on American and NATO forces in Afghanistan. Over the weekend, the Pakistani army said it had reclaimed Mingora, the Swat Valley's main town. The defense secretary said the whole valley could be back in control within 2 or 3 days, although other officials have given longer time frames. Militant fighters escape. And announcing Mingora's capture, an army spokesman acknowledged an unknown number of militant fighters escaped, and so far no top commanders of the Taliban have been killed or captured, and some parts of the valley remain under Taliban or militant control. After a violent 2-year Taliban campaign, the valley's local administrative authorities have been severely damaged, and its police ranks thinned by killings and desertions. Top lawmakers, government officials, and business leaders fled months ago. This is a very unstable area, and again, the Taliban can simply melt away into the mountains. They can just vanish up into the hills. After the Pakistani army leaves, they can quite simply just come back. Re-establishing local governments, most importantly, bringing police back to patrol the streets, is critical or crucial to holding the Swat Valley once the army offensive ends. And to do that could well take months or possibly years, if at all. For now, it appears the army and paramilitary forces will have to act as the police, which they were already trying to do in many parts of Swat before launching the offensive there, and in surrounding districts. The military insists it has tried to minimize civilian casualties and property damage in Swat's towns, knowing that public support for the offensive could erode otherwise. Still, pictures, video footage, and reporters' accounts from various parts of the valley and nearby districts indicate significant destruction, and for many of the 3 million refugees, a return could mean finding a destroyed home, prompting grievances against Pakistani leaders. The Swat Valley was once a crown jewel of Pakistan. Many may also find damaged businesses furthering popular anger and also hampering efforts to jumpstart the local economy in a region that was once a crown jewel of Pakistani tourism, but no more. Pakistan has announced $100 million in federal aid to help the Swat refugees, while the United Nations is pleading with donors to come up with $543 million to ease what is one of the largest internal displacements in a country in many, many years. Ordinary Pakistanis also have launched drives to help the refugees, most of whom are staying with relatives or friends, but some, or at least 200,000, of whom are in temporary camps. Yes, this is an humanitarian disaster also. Many homes and businesses have been destroyed in the Swat Valley. It will be hard to rebuild. And the Taliban, they can always come back once the army leaves, just like they always do. Anyway, there are also plans in the works to beef up the police force in Swat, in part by using retired military officers. But time frames are unclear, and the country's track record on post-conflict work is not very inspiring. Before the latest offensive in Swat, Pakistan waged a 6-month fight against insurgents by the Taliban in Bajur, a tribal region considered a sanctuary for Al-Qaeda and the Taliban on the Afghan border. An AP reporter recently saw tribal police and troops patrolling several towns, but in at least one area, if not more, they're still having security problems months after the militants were declared vanquished. Again, they are fighting a guerrilla army. For every new instance of violence in the tribal belt, the odds of another offensive there appear to rise. More clashes came over the weekend when insurgents attacked an army convoy in the tribal area or areas. And the threat still remains. They're not going to be able to get all the Taliban, are they? The Taliban can move from one area to another quite easily, and Swat may not be Pakistan's first attempt to dismantle the agency, and it can't be its last either. In other words, this is an ongoing conflict. It's not over yet by any means. The Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and other militant or insurgent groups, they've become quite strong. They've had many years of training. When the United States invaded or occupied Afghanistan, it in turn destabilized Pakistan, and actually the entire region, if not the whole world. Pakistan really didn't have these problems before the Afghanistan war. And when will this war end? How long will it take? And what is there to win? Again, all these are connected to everything else that's going on around the world. And these are more signs of the end times, transition days. The transition is ongoing. It's happening every day all around the world. And there are many, many signs.